Hello, seventh grade. Let's go ahead and jump into Unit 3, Lesson 5. So today you're going to work on planning your own character profile and a setting for your narrative. Before we do that, let's jump into the entrance ticket, Unit 3, Lesson 5 on page 149. Why is it important to create accurate settings for this narrative? Do all narratives need to have settings based on real life? So go ahead and pause the video, answer this now. Once you've finished, I want you to share out with your elbow partner and then as a class. All right, guys, so now that you've done that, let's look at our 2 learning targets for today. I can create a character profile for my narrative, and I can create accurate settings based on the places I have read about. I have 3 words that I need you to add to your vocabulary logs: character, profile, and setting. Okay, so pause the video and go ahead and add those to your vocab logs now. All right, guys, so today we need to finish up reading. We're going to read Message from Salva and Author's Note. So go ahead and do that now. There's an audio version available that you guys can listen to. Pause the video. All right, guys, so now that you've done that, I want you to write your gist, add it to your gist logs. What is this? What were these mostly about? I want you to write a separate one for Message from Salva and one for the Author's Note, and then I want you to share out as a class. Okay, guys, I have a few questions I want you guys to work through as a class. So let's go ahead and pause the video and let's talk about these out loud as a class. So I'm going to ask that your teacher direct this conversation. So what did you learn from reading this message, and what habits of character does Salva identify as helping him achieve his goals? So go ahead and pause the video and let's work through those now. All right, guys, so let's turn our focus now to the author's note. Again, I want your teacher to pause the video and I want you guys to have this discussion as a class. You can think, pair, share it first, and then you guys can share out. So what did you learn from reading this note that can help you as you plan your own narrative? Okay, guys, and 2 more questions. Again, think, pair, share first, and then share out as a class. How will writing and sharing your own narratives further help Salva in his mission to help others? And how does this note help you think about the purpose and task of your own narratives? All right, guys. So now that we've had some discussion around that, and for the sake of time, I'm going to jump over this next part, and we're going to go ahead and go into planning a character and a setting. So again, I want you to think, pair, share. Work through these with someone close to you. How can you base your character on information from sources without copying the character or person completely? How can you discover Sudanese names that you can use in your narrative? So go ahead and do that for me now. Pause the video and think, pair, share. All right, guys. Now that we've had some good discussion there, I'm going to ask that we work independently to work through this note catcher for today. So this is where you're actually going to start planning. And you see under each heading, there are some questions that should guide you in your planning. Okay, so you're going to answer things like, how old is the main character? Okay, this is your character. You're creating them. You can make them any age you want. You can give them character traits. You can talk about what habits of character that they embody. Then when you move down to setting, you can talk about what are some of the areas from the journey that you'd like to write about. Okay, so I'm going to ask that we work through this independently. After we do, please come back and we're going to do one more thing before I close out for today. So let's go ahead and pause the video and begin working on our note catcher. Okay, guys, and finally, now that you've finished your note catcher, I want you to get with an elbow partner and I want you to share your character and setting ideas. I want you to use the narrative writing checklist, which is in your workbook on page 147 and 148. And lastly, I want you to get ideas from each other. Share out what's your character going to be like? What's your setting going to be like? Okay, so that's how we're going to close out class today. Thank you guys all so much for your participation, and I'll see you again very soon.